and welcome to the Attitude Lounge, where we promote living a life well lived through the magic of doing what you love. And today we have the amazing Glenda Gracia Rivera from Get Lit with the Good Witch, CEO and everything above. Hi,
I'm never
Glenda.
giving myself that title. I like that.
I love it. Yes, I love it. And when I first saw your title, first and foremost, I love everything. I love your logo. I love how like purposeful you were with all of that. I feel like when I did my logo, I'm like, I just need a mic and I just need a title and let's move on because, in my mind, I was like, you can always rebrand later on and change that. But I've always known how creative you are.
Oh, thank
and
you.
and so yeah, so it just comes together. And the fact that on your bio you say, lover of all odds, of all things odds. So I'm like, yes, if you don't get the title, then you get it by that.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I'm coming in. You got to know um, the Good Witch reference.
Yes, yes. So um there's like a couple of things I want to talk to you because I had you fill out like a survey, and the reason why I do that is because I want to get to know a little bit more about who I'm chatting with, who I'm connecting with. And a couple of things, you did talk about was who you are as an individual, as a Boricua. Hey, and by the way, Boricua, aka Puerto Rican. So, oh, and by the way, shout out Hi Hoot. By the way, Glenda's my soror too. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have her today here, to be able to chat with her. What I loved about that, but I also loved, the story that you led about your personal life and siblings. So we'll get to that maybe till the end. But let's talk about like what got you. I know you've always been a reader. I've always admired that because I'm not that kind of a reader. But recently, and I shared this with you recently, I started, like I said to myself, I gotta read, even if like I suffer from these horrible headaches. So staying on a screen too long is not cool for me. Reading is not cool. But what I said to myself was like, I need to give myself grace. And isn't it great, even if I read, even if it takes me like 3 months to read a book, the fact that I read it. The fact that I went into purpose, I read it, for whatever reason. But you mentioned something in your bio here, and it was that you just have to find that book that you could resonate with
Yeah,
to be able to read, because you believe that everyone can read, everyone's a reader.
everyone's a reader. They just have to find what genre, what what topic, what kind of writing style matches them. And also, I want to just make a plug because um, I I read in multiple formats. So I do lots of audiobooks, I do
Yes.
ebooks, and I do, people are always asking me how many, what are you reading now? I always have at least 3 books going, 1 ebook, 1 audiobook, and 1 hardcover book, sometimes more than that. When you get the terrible headaches, that resonates with me because, you may recall that several years ago, I developed, like, a neurological balance disorder, and at that time, I couldn't look at screens, I couldn't read. Audiobooks saved my
I
life,
do.
and the Hamilton soundtrack, but, they saved my life, right? And so I do lots of audiobooks because it's just like an easier way to take in the information sometimes. Um,
Yes.
I could be running, I could be washing dishes, food shopping. I have a long commute to work, so that helps. So even if you can't get through the physical books, for you, I would recommend finding like some really good audiobooks.
That's a great point. Not too long ago, as I was like searching, I'm always looking for something, and even if I don't know the meaning of something, I go and research. What does this mean, right? And I somehow came across somebody saying how, like, guess this person felt like because she listened to audiobooks, maybe she wasn't going to be perceived as one that has that hard copy, right? Like, and one of the things they were
That's
saying,
so
no, it
annoying.
doesn't
That's a
matter.
stigma.
Your
We do
mind,
fight against like a lot of people like, well, that's not really reading.
yeah,
I posted a meme the other day on my Instagram that said like some books are iBooks and some books are earbooks, and I can't describe, right? And those of us who do both, we understand, right? So like, but you listen, you read, you right? There's so many different ways in which we take in information, right? You think about our just like even our ancestors, the way they pass down stories,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And so
Right,
that's really important to think about just audio um it's not called oratory learning, right?
right,
Like
right,
that's
right.
the word I'm looking for. So
Yeah, and, one of the things and I've taught and so have you, so, one of the things I used to do in my courses, I used to put a multiple of different types of because we all have
they learn
people who learn
differently.
in different ways, and so that's
Absolutely.
why that's important to do in the
Auditory.
classroom.
Maybe it's auditory. That's the word I'm
Auditory,
auditory,
auditory.
auditory learning, right? So I just
Yeah.
like you were talking, I'm thinking about it. But yeah, no, we all have different
No, but I read a research study. I didn't read the research study. I read that there is a research study that they did based on this reading, right? Listening to an audiobook versus reading a book. And the whole thing is that the brain functions in the same way as it's processing everything that's in the book.
absolutely. And there's
Yeah.
lots of research on it. So
And
yeah,
and
it's
and
still
for
reading.
me,
It's still reading.
yeah, for me, that's the main thing. Because when I talked to you off this call, I said about how I find it important to still read because I look at the brain as a muscle, right? If you don't exercise, right, as we get older, and I'm not talking about no, you don't always have to go and lift heavy, but you have to do something. Mobility. We know we get old. We know our bodies aren't going to function in the same
Mhm,
way, so
mhm.
we have to do things right to maintain that so that we can maybe live longer. Same. You
Same
know,
thing with
the mus
absolutely.
the brain is a muscle, and if you're not exercising it, if you're not feeding it, I feel like it could be very damaging, and I've also read like, yeah, research studies, and I wish I should have been more prepared. I wish I would have had those research studies mentioned, but maybe I'll look them up, and once I finalize this and post it, I can add those research studies. But it's also very helpful in dementia, patients with dementia,
Yeah,
patients
no.
with Alzheimer's, because it's saying that it could actually either slow down the process.
My husband's always doing crossword puzzles because that's like there's the research about the crossword puzzles too, like keeping the brain young and like
I
fighting
do
the
that too.
yeah, yeah. So
I'm a nerd.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay,
We
yeah.
gotta we gotta fight it every step of the way.
But tell us. So, tell us like how did this come about? I know you've had this passion. How did you like say, "Hey, I need to put this out there."
Okay. So yeah, I've been a reader since I could read, right? I still like my mom would joke about how like I would be on the couch upside down, like with a book in my hand, like just like with my head like this and like just like
I
reading.
could see that.
Yeah, yeah, because I was also hyper as shit, right? If you know me, I was like bouncing
Uh-huh.
walls all the time. So the fact that a book would keep me calm was probably like, oh my God. But anyway, so I've been a reader. And then I didn't read a lot or any for a long period of time, like when the kids were little, right? Like I just didn't have a whole lot of extra time and I would read for work. So like I didn't do leisure reading. And then once I started getting a little bit more free time to myself, started picking up books again and just like started like full force going back into it. And then Obama started doing his book lists, right? And there were actually some sisters who were like, Glenn, you should do this. Cause I would like talk to books because at that time I wasn't talking to a whole lot of people about reading, but like they're like, oh my God, Glenn, you should do this because you've been reading books. And at that time I would put them up on Pinterest. And
Right.
I had like a classmate from Seton Hall who would be like, um, she calls me Mira. She goes, Mira, you should like put your books, where's your books, right? I know you read more books than this. And so I would like add them on Pinterest. And so then I did a couple years ago an end of the year reading list. And I like did my books like a la Obama style, like what I read for the year. And it just got traction. But what really got me, there was this one book called Behind Her Eyes. It's now a Netflix like short series also. That book was wild. Like the ending was so crazy. I was like, I posted on Facebook and I was like, yo, did anybody read this book? I need to talk to somebody about this ending. And like It got so many comments because people were like, "No, I haven't, but now I'm intrigued." So people started reading it and, like, coming back, "Holy shit, holy shit, like, I can't believe that ending," right? And, like, people texted me and, like, I think to this day, it's like there's, like, 250 comments on that post, and that got me, like, it might have been my coworker, like, my work bestie was like, let me find out you're like a book influencer, right? So I don't know. Maybe she helped me. Shout out to Ludine. Um, maybe she helped me come up with the name because I really don't even know if it was completely my idea or what, like how it came about. The Good Witch has always been my thing. I always would say, like, if people can't remember your name, you tell them, like, they tell you, like, give them a mnemonic or something to, like, remember you by. So when I meet folks sometimes, they'll be like, Glenda. I'm like, yeah, I'm the Good Witch. Um, and of course, I do love The Wizard of Oz also. So, like, it took me a really long time to actually come into my name. Like, I hated my name growing up. I'm still not super fond of it, but, like, it's mine, right? Like, I've come to embrace it, and that was one of the ways by which I came to embrace the name Glenda,
Okay.
um, was because of The Wizard of Oz, and people would be like, "Glenda, like the Good Witch." Yes. So then, yeah, Get Lit with the Good Witch became just like an idea born of like, let me share my love of reading. Let me do like, and Bookstagram was already a big thing. So like I started like looking up Bookstagram accounts and so I was like, all right, let me just start posting book reviews and things like that because people seem to be interested and it was something I really liked to do. And that was kind of how I took off.
Yeah, but I think that's great. I think, obviously other people saw in you, like, the potential and the possibility of having this. The potential of saying, "Yo, I could go to Glenda," or, "Hey, I can go to Glenda's page. Let me see what
Absolutely.
she's saying about this. I wanna read this book, but I'm not too sure. Let me see what she says," or she even has her on her list. So, I think that that's cool, and I always say that in life, like, as you know, like, I retired recently, but part of my retirement was because I had to, not because I wanted to. So,
Mhm.
which is very different. And so one of the things I learned throughout life in this process and having to, I guess, exit a certain chapter in your life, because that doesn't mean that you don't have the next chapter, but that, you do have to make sure that you're in life also doing something that you love. And I know you said you live on purpose. And when you said that, I was like, oh, that just kind of like makes my heart, like, all gooey and stuff because I'm like, "Yes," because that's how I've been trying to live, like, the past 3 years, like and living on purpose also means, like, saying no to certain things, but saying yes to, whatever's gonna guide your
Yourself.
purpose.
Saying yes
Yeah,
to
yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I just, some of the books I re well, one of the books I'm reading is, and I have it right here, actually, not that I'm giving a shout out to the author or anybody, but uh, 'cause I don't know, but it's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. But I got it because, obviously, for obvious reasons, like, certain had to make certain changes in my life for the past 3 years, and I'm like, "Am I off the rocker?" Like, it's just like, because sometimes, you question yourself. And
Surprise, right.
so yeah, and then a friend of mine, a college friend of mine, I saw that he brought that on his page, and I'm like, "Wait a second. Maybe this is a sign. Maybe I need to read this." And that's how I started reading that book, and I came about and this is I guess my the importance is of having somebody who reads books and who you can, say,
Like
"Hey,"
bounce it
like,
off of them. Yeah.
right, so I got that because one of the things he said what made me get it was he mentioned the book, and he says, "I figured this out a long time ago," and I said, "Damn, I didn't."
It takes people a long time.
I haven't, and I says, "But it's not too late, and let me see." And honestly, even though I got, like, 1 chapter left and I just been struggling to finish it just because I just jump around. Sometimes, you talk about, being hyper, like, you can't focus sometimes on certain things. So
Mhm.
so, but one of the things I've gotten is not so much about not giving a fuck, but it's more about giving a fuck about the things that do matter,
Yeah, yeah.
the
It's
things that
it's
matter in your
it's
life, the things in
redirecting
your
your giving a fuck.
Hi.
Right?
Yeah.
Focusing.
Yes, yes, redirecting that, and so but I feel like that title that he gave it probably attracted some folks and saying, "Yeah," like for me now, for me, it's like, "Yeah, I can see that now," and absolutely, and that's the things we gotta do, but it also made me talk up to another person about it, and then they said, "I'm reading this book," so I already got that book. That's gonna be my next book after I'm done with this one,
Okay.
which
I
is
love it. Like I said, anything that gets like I had a oh,
have you
Atomic
seen?
Habits. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard of that. I had a sister reach out to me last night about a particular book. It's not necessarily my genre. I was like, all right, like I might give it a shot. But she was like, oh, ask me what I'm reading, and I gave her the list and she was like, wow, those all sound like really intense, like really interesting. Like I feel something like she was like, oh, I feel so silly because I like reading my like spicy books or whatever. And I was like, girl, don't feel ashamed or
okay.
silly. I was like, that's your thing. That's whatever gets a book in your hands, like that's your thing. Like
Okay. Yeah,
I
because I know
like and so
people
I
that do
find
their
it
little novelas and,
yeah, people
whatever.
were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, well, I only read," if they read, like, smut or whatever and spicy books, and then, like,
Romance.
don't be embarrassed by that, like,
Yeah.
that's your shit, like,
The whole
everybody
idea is you're engaging. Neurologically, you're engaging, you're reading, you're
whatever works
exercising
for
your brain. Yeah.
you, right? Like,
Yeah.
ain't no judgment here.
Yeah, 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 like, I've seen, like, people about that, and when I talk about reading, they're like, "Well, I read romance." And I'm like, "That's okay." I said, "But, so one of these days, you may wanna pick something up differently. Who cares?" Like,
Romance has there's lots of different romance. So I don't necessarily read romance, but unless there's something attached to it. And I
Right.
I found a lot, right? I found a lot of romance like people think that it's only cheesy, right? But like I won't read just a cheesy romance if it's just about like, oh, it's us falling in love or whatever. But there's a plot behind it, right? And there's
Okay.
historical context and there's other things involved. And
Mm, cool.
there's a lot of romance that's like that. So,
Yeah.
there's just no
Yeah, yeah,
judgment. I don't care what you read,
yeah,
how you read, just do it.
yeah,
Like, if it
yeah.
brings you
My
joy.
Yeah, my thing is the important, but you do have to read something more than just instructions from something you ordered on
Yes,
Amazon or
let it be more
wherever.
than that, more than the cereal box.
Yeah, it can't be some website you looked up and now you ordered, like, I don't know, a couch from it
Yeah,
and,
no, no, let it be
you
more than
know yeah, it has to be a little just a little dab more than that. Um Yeah, so, one of the things you mentioned, and I'm so excited for Get Lit with the Good Witch, but I'm more excited about how you're gonna continue to grow this into a podcast. Yes, I did say it,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, that's the hope. Hope. Once I get a
Because there
little bit
there
more
is
time
hope
in
and
my
there's,
hand.
even some of the stuff you just mentioned, off the call, like, I think that's something that's super doable for you. It
Yeah,
is
no,
work, don't
I
get
love
me wrong,
I
it's
have
work.
sisters who are like, "Look, I'll edit your podcast. Look, I'll help," like,
Ah!
so many people, and we just did so the other day, I
That's
don't
a
know if
big
you saw it
one.
on
Take her up on it
huh?
where she is, the editing, that's a
It's
big one.
I have to pay for it. I have to pay for it, but, like and I would love for her to do it, it's just, again, I haven't had the time to, like,
But
sit
that's the
down and
other thing, you brought up a good point, and it's also, like, you also financially, you have to know that, there's gonna be some costs into this and
yeah,
stuff like
and
that.
for me, it's not so much the cost as it is the time right now, right?
Yeah,
But, we did a book talk with Clavis Natera, who, wrote, The Grand Palomar Resort, and so we have a Cuz book club, right? And a couple years ago, we started getting, like, Bianca, I think, Alba of This Latina Travels had started reaching out to the authors to come and, like, meet with us. So they
okay,
would come on Zoom, and this one author, Clavis, she came and we did it. And so then she reached out to us when so she did it a couple years ago when she released her first book,
okay,
Neruda in the Park, and then she came back. And then they asked, like, one of the sisters was like, "Oh, does somebody want to facilitate?" I was like, "Sure, I'll facilitate. Like, I don't mind that." And after it was over, like, we had the most amazing session with her. Oh my God, it was beautiful. But one of the sisters reached out the next day or that night, and she was like, "Oh my God, you're born to this. Like, you should do a podcast because you're like, like you ask such great questions and
yes,
keep
yes,
engaging." And I love it. It's just yes. So I would love if I had free time, more free time.
more
Like,
free time, yeah, yeah.
um, So, yeah,
Yeah. Or
that's the
somehow
direction
direct,
I'm going in.
but
I'm
yeah,
for sure
yeah.
gonna do it. It's not a matter of if, it's when.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like you're halfway there. I feel like it's
Yeah.
just like,
Oh, I have
the
topics
small
in my little phone,
yeah.
like, little phone notes, like, I have
Yeah, yeah,
topics and
yeah.
everything I'm
Yeah,
already
you
in.
yeah. Like, I have a friend who has a podcast, and he's attached it I say attached it because I've seen, like, a lot of people do this, right? Like, they have a business, but then their podcast may be named something differently, but it's kind of related or in relation to. So his wife has a business, a catering business, right? Half Dominican, half Puerto Rican, ya tú sabes cómo es eso, tú sabes. So, yeah, so deliciousness of food and, flavors, but then his podcast is called The Hangry Parent, like, all the things
I saw that on your
about
podcast list. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like, being a
Podcasting.
podcaster, but also, like, having this other regular job, but also, helping out your wife at her, like, skills and, talks to parents about doing all these kind of things, but also, hey, you still have to be at home, right? When your kids get sick, you still got to take
Exactly.
them to the doctor. You got to be up at night. You got to do all these other things, and nobody sometimes talks about all the other madness that happens, amongst everything else you're doing.
That would make me a hangry parent. No, it's a lot. It's a lot. And even though like my kids like now would be the good time, right? My kids are older, right? They don't need constant round the clock care, chauffeuring and all of that. So
Yeah,
the timing is right. It's gonna happen.
yeah, yeah. So if you had to say something to somebody, and by the way, and let me break this up, right? Because I did ask you if you wanted to speak to somebody who maybe has passed on already, or if you had something to say, if you wanted to sit down con un cafecito, or a cup of coffee or something, like who would you sit down with? And oh Lord, I may shed a tear or two.
Oh
Like
girl, I might
let
shed
me
a
bust out
tear.
the let me bust out the tissues. Wait. Like you just said, I would sit down with my mother-in-law, because she passed a week into like me dating her son,
Mhm.
and we never, got that opportunity to meet, and knowing you, she never had the opportunity to meet how wonderful of a partner her son ended up with
Thank you
or
so
had, you know what I'm saying?
thank you.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
so I know that, like, right, what would that conversation, like, look like? What would that feel
Woo.
like?
I didn't bring tissues, Addie.
Like deep, girl.
Um, it's
After my
not
s my
something.
second time I interviewed somebody, I had to have my tissues ready 'cause they, like, immediately busted
Oh my
out, like,
God. So yes, whew, it's deep. I met Ariel.
I mean, just surface, yeah, I
On
don't
a
wanna put you in,
Yeah,
any position,
I
like
met him on a Friday and she passed the next Thursday, right? And all I kept hearing about, and to this day we'll hear about, is like what a wonderful woman she is, how loving, like how much she was always like such a blessing to others. How kind she was, that she was compassionate, that she would help anybody she could. Um, and And of course, she, like, raised my husband, right? Like, she died when she was, I don't know, 41 or 42. She was really
young,
young, right?
young.
Um, and my and so gosh, what would that come so it's weird because I always talk about, like, miss it how can you miss something you never had? And the early years of our relationship were just filled with talk of her, right? She had just died. So like everybody would talk about her. And me and Ariel's story is really beautiful, but it's one of those like I'm y'all gonna hate me, but like it was made in heaven, right? Like it was really a divine, beautiful story. And one point he said, God sent me to you. God sent you to me when he knew I needed you the most, right? Because he had just lost I had lost my stepfather months prior. So I knew what he was kind of going through. And I was able to be there for him, but just like hearing all of this talk about her really put me in a place where like, damn, like I'll never know her, right? Like I'll never meet her, I'll never know her. I'll only know her through these stories. So, if I was like to be able to talk to her, that conversation would probably be like, yeah, like who did you want for your son, right? Like what, what are all the hopes and dreams you had for your children, right? And your grandchildren, and what stories and what things would you have wanted to pass down? I think, like, but I would just really wanna say, like, look at the foundation that you helped lay, right? Like,
Yes.
that more than anything, like, I would love for her grandchildren to meet her, right? Like, people have told me, like, "Iris would have been so proud of her
Mhm,
grandkids." Like,
mhm,
she would have loved
mhm.
on them, she would like, when we were planning the wedding, apparently, like, she was really into party planning and helping with parties and stuff like that. Like, me and Ariel had been in each other's universe before we actually met. So, my comadre Lisette, her younger sister Leslie had a quinceañera. We were both in the quinceañera. And I had actually been to Ariel's house before I actually met him. The very first time I drove to his house, I'm driving and I'm like, I've been here before. I went to the house and no, I've been in this house before. Like I've been here before. And that's like my memory, y'all, is like
Yeah,
chef's kiss. Nobody
yeah,
tops my memory. Let me just say. And I knew it. And I was like, yo, did his sister come out in Leslie's quinceañera? And at the time, we didn't have text messaging, right? So, but the next time I talked to Lisa, I'm like, yo, did Janita come out in Leslie's quinceañera? Did we go to that house to pick her up for like a fitting? She was like, oh my God, I can't believe you believe that. She was like, oh my God, yes, we did. Right. Like, so she already knew him, like my very best friend. Like
yeah.
she knew him. She loved him. She loved him. And she tells me lots of stories about his mom. So everybody talked about like how she loved planning parties, like doing party stuff. And when we were getting married, people were like, oh my God, if his mom was here, she would have like her and your mom would have took over this whole wedding, right? So it's just like funny things like that. I just every big moment in our life, she's been there, right? She's been a presence at our wedding. Girl, the people cried. Like there was
Mhm.
not a dry eye because I danced with my brother and he danced with his sister and they danced the song that his mom said when you get married, this is the
Wait,
song you wanna dance
oh,
with, right? It was Kenny
yeah.
Rogers, Kenny Rogers Through the Years.
Oh,
Girl,
okay.
ese llanto que teníamos en esa boda, estábamos like, all of us crying, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, she was there,
Well, also because she was respected and people felt that.
she was
She
respected,
was
she was being honored on that day, she was being celebrated on that day, so I would just like, yeah, if I
listen,
was to have a conversation, that's what I would have wanted,
yeah,
like,
for the most
to
part,
share with
people don't say she was good if she wasn't good. You know what I'm
no,
saying? For the
for sure.
most
For sure. She lived her life in a way, that I've never heard a bad thing about her.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, listen, Glenda, like, I talk to some, I go to church and all this, and I love God, and I felt like I've gotten a lot closer to God in the past few years, but it's not something I pushed onto anybody. I feel these are journeys people have to go through themselves. But I feel that if she was here today, she wouldn't have to say nothing to you. She would just hold your hand and smile.
Oh, thank you.
So, because she
Yeah, no, it
sees.
was a compliment to me when Ariel's, or his sister's madrina, who was her best friend, right? She had several sisters, but apparently she was just super close to her best friend, and her best friend kind of knew her in ways that her sisters didn't. And
Mhm,
um, she said to me one day, she was like, "She would have loved you so much." And I was like bawling too. I was like, "Thank you for saying that." Like I needed to hear that, right?
mhm.
Because I would have, right? And I have to feel like she is a part of blessing us, right? We've been married for 26 years. Um, so and then we could probably talk offline about how, like, when I found my new family, come to find out, me and Ariel are really distant, distant cousins, right? He's actually in my family tree. Um,
Yeah.
way down the line in Utuado. And my brother, right? My new brother was able to help me determine that and find that out because of the records that he kept. It was wild. It was wild. And what I said to him, I was like, La sangre llama, right? Like there's a reason we ended up together. So I like to think that she had a part in that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's something, to be said about, the people that, we lose, but I think it's important to always just keep them uplifted so that we, you know, so that we can be uplifted through that process as well, you know?
Absolutely.
Um, so, I know we've talked about, like, so many things, right? You're Get Lit with the Good Witch, yeah, fire, and I'll be posting, like, how to, contact, Glenda at Get Lit the Good Witch in all her social, media outcomes and platforms and so forth. But, I know you talked a little bit, and I don't know, like, if you wanna, talk about how you got to how your family, like, contacted you, uh, towards the end, that, amazing story. Is that okay to talk about that a little
Yeah,
bit?
that's a girl,
Mm,
I've been screaming it
okay.
from the rooftops. Um,
Because I'm just saying, you did say I'm an open book, and I
I
am who I
am.
am, and I said what I said.
I have a T-shirt that says that.
I love it.
I have a T-shirt that literally says, "I said what I said," right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
as I said, I am intentional. Um, what I think is the biggest blessing from Get Lit with the Good Witch is that I've discovered that your passion can lead you to things that you can't even imagine. That in any world, I could never, ever have imagined. And I'm gonna just, I guess, give you this short version because this is a timed podcast. But the long version might be a little bit more than what we can sit for. But long
I hear
story
you.
short, um, for a year, I had never met my biological father. I had this one person on my birth certificate who I was kind of looking for his family. I thought he might be have passed on, but I was looking for his family because I understood that I had at least three siblings, and so I kept looking, and he was Portuguese, um, married to a black woman. My siblings were black. I had found one online and I kept trying to reach out. Her name is also Glenda. Well, the people I thought who were my siblings, let me preface this, right? And I had these names and I would like every once in a while do a search. I'd try to reach out to emails and information that I'd find. And I'd never like, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. And like I would
Right.
just like, reach a dead end. And I had done Ancestry to try to connect me with some potential matches, right? And people who might be related to me on my like biological father side. So most of my life, I grew up thinking that I was half Portuguese and that this man just, he was a married man that my mom didn't know was married when she got with him. And she ended up like leaving when he was like not going to be a part of our lives, right? And she was like, he didn't leave his wife, right? It was that
Right,
whole like,
right.
leave my
Yeah.
wife and be a family and blah blah blah. And I was like, he didn't do that. She left. She lived in Philly at the time. Moved to Trenton. That's where I grew up. So I get hit up on Ancestry. So I did Ancestry, and for a while, like I really didn't get any matches. My niece Nikki, if you remember her, my brother's daughter, like she came up as like my highest match for a while. Then I get like this person who's like this guy's DL Negron or whatever, and he matches double what she
Okay.
is, right? So I'm like, this is weird. But I didn't really pay attention to how the matches and the percentages and the numbers on Ancestry worked. But I just kept thinking like, well, he ain't Portuguese, he's not from Philly, like he's in Utuado, Puerto Rico. They're probably related to my mom because my mom, her mother died when she was 4, and she never really knew that side of the family.
Yeah.
So, todo este tiempo yo estoy pensando like they're from that side, and one day I'll reach out and I'll figure out a little bit more about them. But right now I'm like really focused on like finding my biological like dad, right? Nothing ever came up. And then one day last year, I'm like on a Zoom call. You're like on Zoom and then like you're checking your email. You're doing a million other things like when you're in a boring meeting, right? So I like check my Gmail and I get a message from Ancestry. And um oh my God. Wait, I actually have it here because I saved it like my
Mm,
like this was wild. And it was like, hello, Glenda. I hope this message finds you well. My name is Wanda Cruz. I'm reaching out because I did my DNA on Ancestry and you've come up as a DNA match. According to Ancestry, there are a few categories. We have 99% possibility of being related. One of them is being potential half siblings. My half brother Lorenzo, quote unquote Damian, also received the same match at a time when neither one of us understood what all the percentages meant or really how ancestry worked until recently, right? So it goes on.
Oh,
She's like,
wow. Yeah, yeah,
basically,
yeah.
and that brother she's saying is the guy who was in my inbox, like, he was in my matches for like 2 years, and I never, or 3 maybe even, I don't even know. It had been a
Yeah,
while,
yeah.
and he never reached out, and I never reached out, right? So, I'm reading it, and I'm like, "Nah, girl," like, I'm thinking like, "Oh, this is a little bit crazy," and she's like, "I hope, I don't wanna disrupt anything, and, I would love to talk to you, though, if you're interested to learn more, like, I'd be thrilled, blah, blah, blah." So, finally, I'm like, "Okay, like, sure, let's talk." Like, I don't know my mom and my dad, and I don't know my mom's family, so I'm like, more than I would love to learn more about, like, you get to the bottom of this type thing. And so, but I wasn't convinced that that was my siblings, right? Like,
Right, right.
I wasn't. I was like, we're probably cousins, but all right, let's talk, like this seems interesting. And I wasn't pressed, or I had like a concert that night. I had a birthday that weekend. My mom's cat died that weekend. So, like, it had
Oh,
been
okay.
like
Yeah.
3 days. I was like, I'll reach out to you this weekend. Y ya era domingo. Casi al final de domingo, it was like 5 o'clock at night. And I was like, ay, Dios mío, I haven't called this lady. Like, let me text her. So we start, we call, we talk, and she starts talking to me, and we share a little bit. And then she starts telling me stuff. Um, and putting pieces together. And she's like, is your mom Toñita? Is your right? Like, I talked to my dad and, whatever. Long story short, y'all, ma had a one night stand with her dad, right? My dad now. Um, and I'm like, wait, like everything I know, like my head is spinning, and she's like, like I went down, and again, because I'm an open book, a lot of stuff I have on Facebook is public. So she
Right.
found an old picture of my mom with me as a baby, and that's how she asked her dad, like, our dad, like, do you know this woman? He's like, yeah, and he starts talking about how they met, and my mom used to work. He had a cousin in Trenton, basically, and my mom worked with his wife, and they were good friends, and that's how they met. Um, so, girl, long story short, then she starts sending me pictures, and I'm like, "You guys,
Wow.
oh my god," and she's sending me pictures, and we start talking, like, we have so much in common, and I'd always, like, I grew up my whole life thinking, like, I don't I didn't feel a void, right? It was never like, "Oh, a piece of me is
Yeah.
missing." I like, my life feels incomplete. I never felt that way. I just always
Right.
felt really curious, right? Like, who am I like? Who do I look like? I don't look like my brother and sister, my mom. I don't act like them. I don't think like them. I'm literally like in in not in a bad way, but like the black sheep type thing. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
who am I like? Who did I take after? Right? And girl, the question was answered tenfold. Like me and my brother, we got the same master's degree 2 years apart. Right. He has a master in public administration from Rutgers Newark in 2000. I had mine from Seton Hall in '02. We all have a lot of the same political beliefs, cultural beliefs. Like there's just so much that we matched on. And the more that we talk, like, because we still talk, like, we talk regularly, like, I have a regular, really beautiful relationship with all of them now. And it's just like the more we talk, we're like, oh my God, and so I talked to my sister first that night, and then later on I talked to my brother. So my brother says to me, we we had found this out, we put the pieces together, Wanda and I. My brother's name is Lorenzo. Um, we put it together, and he was like, "And then we wanted to talk to you, but we didn't know if you had like, what your life consisted of, like, if you had a father in your life, if there was something like, we didn't know what the story was that you were told, and we didn't wanna, like, turn that upside down," right? Um, and
That's
I
what
was
resonated with me, I'll be honest, but go ahead.
that what?
That's what resonated with me, that
That they
care,
were thoughtful like that, right? Like,
that
that's intentional.
thoughtfulness that most people are
That's
not.
intentional, right? Right? Think
Yes.
about that being intentional. I thought that was beautiful too. So he says, "But then Wanda found one of your book reviews." So again, my my Instagram is private, but my Bookstagram, the Get Lit with the Good Witch, is public, right? Because you're trying to get an audience and get people to like follow you. So I had written a book review. Mind you, this was August we were talking. The book review was from January. And do you know the comedian Aida Rodriguez? She's
Not
Puerto
sure.
Rican. You're gonna have to look her up because you're gonna
Yeah.
love her. She's very political. She's like Boricua to the 10th power, and Dominican. But she wrote a book called Legitimate Kid. And the book is really about like her experiences, her relationships, in particular her relationships with men, and like how not having a father in her life impacted some of those kids, and how she felt sort of like illegitimate for a good part of her life because she didn't have her dad around.
I know
Um,
who she is. Yes.
you know who
I
she
was
is?
just looking at her.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
it. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
you
yeah.
got
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
like
yeah.
right up our alley, right?
Mhm.
Um,
I've seen some of her stuff on stand
yeah,
up, yeah.
yeah. So she wrote this book. I did a review, and then in my review, I said like I could relate to some of the things that she talked about because I never met my dad, right? I didn't grow up with a dad. I never met my dad, and so like I could relate and blah blah blah. So my brother says that as soon as my sister Wanda read that, she was like, "Oh, okay, like now we got to reach out." No, I think it's safe. That's a sign, right? And
That's
the
a
whole
sign.
they
Yeah,
were like trying to concoct all these ways to come up to, because like then come to
yeah.
find out, and you'll appreciate this too. I had a mutual friend on each of them, on each of their side, right? So like Lorenzo and I had a mutual friend, who's a really good friend of ours, and like Ariel's family from Trenton. He's like involved in the Puerto Rican cultural association here, right? And does a lot of amazing community work. That's his cousin, right? Like, or my
Right.
cousin now too, right? But like, so he had seen that we were connected, right? And he had made up this whole story. He was going to try to reach out to Sam, and like, he made up this whole lie, right? To try to get information about me. And then I was like, you are my brother. Cause I would do some shit like that. Like, that's what I would do. And then my sister, tells me we have a mutual friend in common. And I'm like, oh wow, who? And she's like Vanessa Shimilewski. And I'm like, that's my sorority sister. Veda, you know Veda from what was her name? Oh, Vanessa Vasquez from
Okay, yeah,
Ada.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I said, yeah, it's my sorority sister. And she's like, well, that's your cousin now. And I was like, that's crazy, right? So like just all of these strings being pulled together. So little did I know, and like I'm telling my friends about this, and they're like, Glenn, how wild is it that this little Bookstagram account that only has this many people following, like you don't have thousands of followers, you don't have like this super huge platform, but like how amazing is it that like this one thing that you just started doing as a little passion project on the side because it was something you enjoyed doing, really like helped open the portal, right? It helped like
There you
open.
go. Mhm.
So I
There
think
you
that
go.
if nothing else ever comes from Get Lit with the Good Witch ever again, right? Like if I don't do anything with it, like that was the purpose for
That
me.
was
That was
yes.
super purposeful. That was like divinely aligned with what was supposed to happen in my life. So that to me is like the most, like that's the best story to me from
Yeah.
what came
No,
out of
I think that's wonderful, and yeah, and how it brings all this together too, like,
crazy.
from how you created it to look how it helped you find family,
Yeah.
siblings,
Yeah.
you know. When I read that, I said to myself, because this is something I've said for many years. I'm like, I'm not doing the ancestral thing. I'm not doing that because honestly, out of fear, I don't want no crazy person coming and knocking.
That's what a lot of people say. But I'm gonna tell you, so here's I've had a lot of people say that. There's power in manifestation,
That's true.
right? And so if you keep saying that, then think about what you're blocking.
Yeah.
And so I
Yes.
think like something really beautiful that I love that Kayla said when it all happened, she was like, this wouldn't happen to anyone else. It would only happen to you because you're so open. Because you're
Yeah.
so
There you
open
go.
to receiving, right? And that was like, oh my God, like teary eye, right? Like I
Yes.
don't live my life necessarily on the what's it called? Like, ugh, I don't want to, what if,
Yeah.
and like the blocking the what ifs. I live my life more like, "Well, what if not?" Right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's see what happens, you know? Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
but a
so
lot of
one of
people
the
are skeptical about the ancestry stuff.
no, no, when I saw it, I was like when I read it, I was like I thought about what I've said in the past, and I was like, I could do without it," you know? But after seeing your beautiful story, I'm like, "Hmm, should I be doing this, and should I be more open to it?" Because right, just what you said, we don't know what we're blocking sometimes. It could be something as simple as that, right? There could be a blessing out there for us, and,
Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, we're blocking it just like when there's signs, right? We say, "Oh, is that a sign?" Sometimes we have to pay attention to those signs
Sometimes you ignore them.
because right, if we ignore them, something could pass us by, and that was meant for us, you know? So thank you so much for taking this time out, sitting down. This is Oh my god, these beautiful stories, so authentic, and to be able to bring it together, and I can't wait till you continue to grow. I know, you're more than, Glenda. You're a wife, you're a mother, you're a daughter, you're a sister, you're a soror, you're a mentor. So I know you spoke about that, how that's also important to you to see other people continue to grow, which is something that aligns to me. I never understood in a work environment how we I felt like everybody should have some basic knowledge of everybody else's knowledge because we should be learning
Yeah.
rather than keeping people from learning. And so I think that I like that aspect. I like that imaging that you produce and put onto others and you share with others. So
Yeah.
thank you for being who you are.
There's a Maya Angelou quote that says, I don't know if I'm gonna get it right. What you get, give. What you learn, teach. Right? And it's just like,
That's nice. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but
Yeah.
this was wonderful. Thank you so much. I love that I had no idea that you had this on your radar. So when you started doing this podcast, I was like, oh, see, right?
Been trying
Like,
to reach out to you. It's just that sometimes I'm slow and honestly my health is like just
oh, no, no,
recently
no. I have
uh,
no feelings about you. I never even imagined you asking me if I'm being
oh
honest.
my god, no,
It
I've been wanting
felt
to. You have no
like
idea.
because I'm doing that's been on my radar, the podcast, and when I see people I know, I'm like, "Oh my god, let me listen, look at this, this is beautiful." We have, several sorority sisters who have podcasts. We should do something to
Yes.
highlight them.
Yes.
Um,
Not only that, we should just have some sort of a common place that we can meet
like a
for
resource
support or,
or
"Hey, are you
something.
running into this?" And the other piece I've said, we all have we're all gonna get different followers. We're all maybe attracting we have different niches and whatnot, including our own personal, like, nearby community. And so for me, it's like right now I have several people and I'm thinking, "You're one of them." I'm gonna like contact somebody else, another sorority sister that I know has a podcast that says, "Oh my god, you should talk to her. She should be on your podcast."
Right?
And I think that's a really good way to just kinda keep it rolling because
Mhm.
it's about exposure. For me, it's about giving people another platform exposure, but also it helps me to connect with people. It helps
Yeah,
me to continue to
builds the
stay
ecosystem.
informed. Oh my goodness, yes, your mental health, like I said, I like helping people, so something that I can share, it's like, "Hey, I just got off a call from Glenda and yo, I am still taking deep breaths. I still can't exhale right." Like, you have to, like, contact her. You have to do something with her. Because I think, I think it's out there, and I think more people wanna build something like this.
Yes,
And it's
no,
it's kinda like
like
that, so, yeah. Maybe in our free time, whenever that comes, we can do that. But thank you so very much. I truly
Thank
appreciate
you,
you,
hermana.
man. Much love,
Mhm.
soror. Yeah, thank you so very much. This is beautiful. It's always nice to hear like beautiful stories. So,
I love telling them, I love hearing them, I love it all. So thanks so much, sis.
all right, why don't you hang on? I'm just going to end the call
Okay.
and just continue to tell people, balance your life and, live a life well lived through the magic of doing what you love. And what I mean by that is you have to have something every week to look forward to do. Yes, we have our families, we have our jobs, we have this and that, but it has to be something free for you that fulfills you, that generates your soul, that you can go out and then share that with. So until next time.